He was once a big spender, accused of living a lavish lifestyle funded by illegally using investors' money as his personal piggy bank. Now, the only spending ex-crypto CEO Sam Bankman-Fried will be doing for the next 25 years is time in prison. In Trump's Georgia case, his attorney argues that the indictment should be dismissed based on the First Amendment, but the judge seems skeptical. Concerns over U.S. bridge safety escalate following the Baltimore bridge collapse. What's the future for aging infrastructure? We'll speak with a construction industry insider. Immigration into the U.S. reportedly happening much faster than the Biden administration expected. Ariane Pazdar has the details of a new report and the impact of the ongoing crisis. The Supreme Court appears unlikely to limit access to the abortion pill, mifepristone. The organization bringing the case tells us about the drug's health risks and why they're standing up to the FDA. What are the hottest cars on the market this year? Find out when we speak with our auto expert at the 2024 New York Auto Show. Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephanie Cox. Breaking today, a prison sentence of 25 years. That's what a judge handed down to the co-founder of failed crypto platform FTX. Sam Bankman-Fried is found guilty of defrauding investors. Last November, a jury found that Bankman-Fried illegally used money from FTX depositors to cover his lavish spending. Investigators say he purchased luxury properties in the Caribbean, flew on private jets, and paid bribes to Chinese leaders. The current CEO of the company, John Ray, says Bankman-Fried left the business neither solvent nor safe. U.S. District Judge Lewis Kaplan says the sentence reflects that there's a risk that this man will be in position to do something very bad in the future. He added that it was for the purpose of disabling him to the extent that can be appropriately done for a significant period of time. Bankman-Fried and co-founder Gary Wang, one of the people who testified against him, founded FTX in 2019. And Georgia Judge Scott McAfee today questioning a Trump attorney who argues that the RICO case should be dismissed. The attorney says the allegations against Trump that are related to political speech should be protected by the First Amendment. The judge asked if speech could be considered a crime.
Your argument is that this is core political speech.
Correct.
So some crimes can be achieved solely through speech, though. Terroristic threats, solicitation. Why is that not what's happening here, as alleged?
Attorney Stephen Sadow argued that any statements, comments, or expressive conduct related to campaigning is protected speech. He includes the telephone call with Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, as well as Trump's claims that the election was rigged. The prosecution responded that Trump's speech was in furtherance of criminal acts and therefore not protected, prompting McAfee to ask Sadow whether or not overt acts would be included. McAfee previously denied similar motions filed by Sidney Powell and Ken Chesebro before they pleaded out of the case. He did not rule on Trump's motion today. Trump is scheduled to visit New York City today. He will attend the wake for NYPD officer Jonathan Diller. Diller, a 3-year veteran of the force, was fatally shot during a traffic stop on Monday in Queens. And President Biden will also be in New York tonight, attending what is being called a record-setting campaign fundraiser that is expected to generate at least $25 million towards his re-election. The sure-to-be super-studded event at New York's famed Radio City Hall offers donors different tiers of access. The more you spend, the greater the access. The main stage event is a conversation with the 3 presidents, moderated by late-night talk show host Stephen Colbert. There's also a lineup of musical performers, including Queen Latifah, Lizzo, Ben Platt, and Cynthia Erivo, that will be hosted by actress Mindy Kaling. The least expensive ticket costs $225, the most expensive $500,000. To attend an exclusive reception for that one. And the bodies of 2 of the missing 6 construction workers have been recovered after the deadly Baltimore bridge collapse. The investigation into the collision is now underway. Our reporter Luis Martinez joins us now live from the scene. Luis, what can you tell us about the investigation so far?
Yes, well, the latest information we have is that this is no longer a recovery operation. It is a salvage operation. So yesterday, 2 bodies were recovered on a red pickup truck that was submerged 25 feet underwater. But divers suspended operations when they realized that the remaining bodies most likely are trapped under the collapsed superstructure and it's unsafe to go under there. Today, over 1,100 Army Engineer Corps personnel is arriving on scene, as well as heavy crane and specialized barges to begin the debris removal operation. Let's listen to what Jennifer Homendy, the chair of the National Transportation Safety Board, had to say about the bridge and the structure itself.
The bridge is fracture critical. It's a fracture critical bridge. What that means is if a member fails, that would likely cause a portion of or the entire bridge to collapse. There's no redundancy. The preferred method for building bridges today is that there is redundancy built in, whether that's transmitting loads to another member or some sort of structural redundancy. This bridge did not have redundancy.
So there's about 17,000 fracture critical bridges in the United States presently out of 700,000 bridges around the entire country. So that's a very interesting information for the NTSB going forward, because obviously they will have to revise the safety around these bridges. We also know that when the bridge collapsed, on top of the dolly, the cargo container ship that struck the support beam, the bridge also breached over 56 containers that had hazardous materials. That's about 700 tons of hazardous materials, some of it spilling into the waterway. Let's listen to what Senator Van Hollen, the Democrat from Maryland, had to say about the priorities of these investigations.
The fact that the Port of Baltimore is one of the busiest ports in America, the biggest port for cars unloading and offloading, thousands and thousands of workers directly employed there, and then tens of thousands more whose livelihood depends on it. So opening the channel is the priority.
We also know, according to NTSB officials, that the investigation will take in between 12 to 24 months in order to reach a conclusion. And we also know that, as Senator Van Hollen just pointed out, the priority is to open the waterway so that the Port of Baltimore can begin operations. There are currently over 10 boats stuck inside of the harbor and around 59 waiting to dock either in the Port of Baltimore or other ports in the Northeast. Back to you.
All right, Luis Martinez, live there for us in Baltimore. Thank you so much. And the collapse is raising concern about the safety of bridges across the United States. As you heard, there's quite a number of bridges in a similar position. For more on this, we're now joined by a construction industry insider, Shelly Armato. Shelly, welcome. Good to speak with you. This bridge was completed in 1977. As we just heard from officials earlier today, there's some amount of redundancy that's just not built into it. Are there any other likely issues in terms of maintenance at play here?
Yeah, that's the big question here. Not only the maintenance, but going back and doing the research and finding out when was the best way to do this is to go back and just read the meeting minutes of all the inspection reports and understanding exactly what happened, when it happened. It's all about the forensics of the project that's going to allow them to build quicker and be able to move forward quicker.
And how long will it take to clear all the debris and reconstruct the bridge, do you think? What's your likely estimate?
It's the biggest question. I've been on a lot of shows, and the speculation is we'll just bury the old bridge, and there's just all kinds of speculation. But I think the most important thing we can do right now is to be patient and understand how next time we can prevent this from ever happening again, and understanding that every obstacle like this creates innovation, and that's what we're hoping to happen out of this.
And do you expect it to be a completely new reconstruction, or where do you see this going from here?
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a complete reconstruction. And this is where the critical data is so critical in retrieving and making sure that if there's any way they can use any of that previous infrastructure, that'll help them build faster. But my speculation is that they are going to have to take it all down and build with new innovation and protection.
What lessons do you think should be drawn from this incident so far from what we know?
So I was doing a bunch of research. I love to research. So I put a link on my LinkedIn profile. Like if you want to do research, if you're like me, like just give me some research. I want to do and learn better. So the thing I found out that was really interesting is they have a risk assessment panel that is going to be able to do the risk assessment from the previous project. So I would be curious to see what that says. I mean, what did they identify as the risk? Did they identify that this potentially could happen? And understanding, again, the power of the data that built the project so they can move quickly with the new project.
And just coming back to that idea of aging bridges and the number of other bridges in similar situations around the country, does it seem like we should really be tackling those as well, considering this weak point that's been identified? You're talking about risk assessments, right?
Right. And I mean, it seems to me that we had such an infrastructure problem just until the new infrastructure bill got passed, that it's a part of the process to build better and to do those things. But we'll see. I mean, you know, only the inner workings will know all these answers. But building with audit-ready data would have been able to make decisions quicker in a sense of an emergency like this.
All right, and hopefully we will see all of that innovation that you've thrown out there ahead of it. Thank you so much. Shelley Armato, great to speak with you.
Thank you.
And immigration into the U.S. is reportedly rising much faster than the Biden administration expected. A new report now shows we've already reached numbers that the government projected we'd only be seeing decades down the road. NTD's Arian Pazdar has more on the ongoing crisis.
The Center for Immigration Studies published a new report on Thursday. It shows that the total number of immigrants in the U.S. now stands at over 50 million. That's over 15% of the total population. Now that's significant because just in November, the Biden administration projected that this 15% mark would only be reached in 2039. The center estimates that 25% of all immigrants, almost 13 million, are in the U.S. illegally. The report states that the most recent influx under Biden has implications for nearly every aspect of American society, including public coffers, the labor market, schools, hospitals, and the balance of political power. And we've already seen this impact in cities across the U.S.
This issue will destroy New York City.
Earlier this month, I spoke with Todd Bensman, a senior fellow with the Center for Immigration Studies. He then said that some towns near Mexico have already seen some of the implications outlined in this new report.
You know, if they feel sick or they have a problem or cancer or whatever it is, we'll go straight into the local hospitals. They don't have insurance, and, you know, hospital systems have to pay for that.
Even if it's a serious illness such as cancer?
They're paying for everything. Yeah,
really?
Everything.
At present, the number of immigrants in the U.S. is higher than at any point in history. The center expects the total number to rise to 60 million after a possible second Biden term. Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
And the Supreme Court appears unlikely to limit access to mifepristone, a common abortion pill. NTD's Andrew Thomas speaks with the organization representing the plaintiffs and a legal expert at the Heritage Foundation to learn more about the drug's health risks and why they're standing up to the FDA.
So my first question for you is, what do doctors and other medical professionals say the health risks are for women who are considering taking mifepristone?
And according to the FDA's own data, the abortion industry's own data, last year, 25,000 women went to the emergency room with complications from chemical abortion drugs. That can include complications such as life-threatening infections, severe bleeding, excruciating pain, needing emergency surgeries, and blood transfusions.
Blake says the issue is about protecting women, not about obstructing access to abortion.
The FDA simply put, recklessly betrayed women and girls when it removed safeguards on these drugs rather than ensure that women had the best health care possible, in-person doctor care for high-risk drugs. And regardless of your views on abortion, that's something we should all be able to agree on, that women deserve great health care.
Can you explain how the plaintiffs you're representing in this case have legal standing?
Our doctors are the doctors standing in the gap, caring for women who've been hurt by chemical abortion drugs. The FDA says on its label that 1 in 25 women who take these drugs will end up in the emergency room. And our doctors are there in emergency rooms, in local OB/GYN practices, caring for women going through these excruciating complications and needing to save their lives.
Federal law protects doctors at hospitals that receive federal funds from performing procedures that violate their conscience or religious beliefs. But Alliance Defending Freedom argues that those protections are insufficient in practice.
But the Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine has countered by saying these are emergency room situations. Not every doctor has the opportunity to go to the 8th floor and speak with general counsel and see whether or not they're legally in the right.
Perry argues that the FDA is being somewhat disingenuous when it claims to be following the science.
The FDA says we used the best scientific evidence. We had no reporting of any increase in adverse effects or any increase in deaths. But the irony to that is in 2016 and 2021, the FDA said we don't need reporting on any adverse effects. So they had no data on adverse effects. But that was because, and this is a bit of confirmation bias, that was because the FDA had stopped requiring reporting from doctors and nurses who were involved in distributing the pill.
Even if the Supreme Court rules in favor of the ADF, mifepristone will still be an available option for women considering an abortion. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Up ahead, imagine a car without a rear window. One automaker is turning that idea into reality with its latest release. We'll have that and more from the upcoming 2024 New York International Auto Show after the break.
The 9th International Chinese Vocal Competition is scheduled to take place in New York City in September 2024. We are proud to announce that this year's panel of judges will include distinguished vocalists from the globally acclaimed Shen Yun Performing Arts. The prestigious Gold Award includes a $10,000 prize. For additional details, please visit vocal.ntdtv.com.
I didn't ask to lose my mother or to be abused at 5 years old. I didn't ask to be kicked out of my house with nowhere to go. I just can't. I'm so sorry. I didn't ask for any of this. But I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there. Thanks to their love and support, and to generous people like you, I got what I needed to take control of my life.
For the young people who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations, Covenant House is there providing safety, hope, and a brighter future. Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love to more than 2,000 young people who sleep at a Covenant House every night. 1 in 10 young adults will experience homelessness this year. Your gift can help reach them when they need it most.
I didn't ask for my parents and my family to disown me. I didn't ask to end up in a homeless shelter. The beauty of it all is that I found Covenant House.
The need is overwhelming, but your monthly support will make sure no young person is ever turned away. Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
Covenant House really helped me and really helped mold me into the woman I am today. If there's no Covenant House, where would I be today?
Your monthly gift is urgently needed to reach young people in communities like yours who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations. Show them they're loved and not alone. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran? Of course.
Yes.
Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right? I always feel like I can solve my own problems, but eventually, you know, you just can't deal with it on your own. And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me. When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.
A critical vote today in the UN Security Council ends a monitoring panel overseeing the sanctions against North Korea's nuclear program. The veto by Russia stops the monitoring program by United Nations experts. However, Russia's veto and China's abstention does not affect the sanctions themselves. The Security Council's resolution would have extended the program for another year. Western allies, including Britain and the United States, say Russia is violating sanctions against North Korea. They accuse Moscow of purchasing weapons from the North that are being used in its war with Ukraine. Prior to today's vote, the monitoring panel had been renewed for the past 14 years. And tax changes in 2024, supply chain concerns, and egg prices are on the rise just in time for Easter. Here's NTD's Don Ma with today's business brief.
Thank you, Steph. Filing taxes as a freelancer next year is going to require more paperwork, but the IRS is hoping this will improve overall reporting. This applies to independent and self-employed workers, as well as businesses that sell online who receive payments via apps like Venmo, Zelle, Cash App, or PayPal. This year, gig workers and small businesses will still use 1099-K forms to report third-party app payments totaling $20,000 and any payments over $200. Now, this threshold will be lowered next year to $5,000. The main difference, though, for the 2024 tax year will be payment platforms issuing additional forms for every purchase transaction. If you get a form by mistake, the IRS says to contact the company or put 1099-K received in error on your taxes. Meanwhile, the Port of Baltimore blockade caused by the catastrophic bridge collapse is unlikely to trigger a new supply chain crisis in the U.S. or spike the price of goods. That's according to economists and logistics experts. They say that due to ample and growing spare capacity at competing East Coast ports, the situation is a shift from the clogged, understaffed ports and supply chain chaos of 2021 and 2022. Which, by the way, spiked prices and fueled inflation as Americans binged on imported goods purchases coming out of the global health crisis. Now, East Coast ports have invested billions of dollars over the past decade to expand capacity, while the temporary closure at Baltimore may add time and cost for some companies. Economists don't expect a significant macroeconomic impact. And finally, Easter is right around the corner, and the Easter Bunny isn't the only thing hopping, because egg prices are jumping up too, pushing up the cost of using dyed ones for Easter. The average price for eggs right now is about $3 a dozen. That's way cheaper than the record high of $4.82 a dozen in January of last year in the wake of an avian flu outbreak. But it's still a lot higher than the average cost of $1.45 per dozen before the pandemic. That's all from me, Steph. Back to you.
All right, Don, thank you. Next, we have the latest from the automotive industry. The New York Auto Show and the Big Apple opens Friday. NTD's Chris Beers was at the press preview, speaking with dealers and experts.
The New York Auto Show predates mass auto manufacturing itself. Founded in 1900, the show has played a pivotal role in both popularizing and advancing the auto industry. Let's take a look at some of the most recent models. Standing behind me is the new electric SUV coupe, the Polestar 4. What's unique about this vehicle is that there's no rear view window. Instead, you have a rear view camera that allows you to see a little bit more of what's behind you as you move. Here's what the company's PR manager has to say about the vehicle.
All new product in our lineup. 2024 is going to be a very exciting year for our brand with the launch of 3 and 4 coming to market. The U.S., North America, is a very SUV-friendly segment, right? It's a very, very popular car, good sales numbers in that segment. So we're very excited about what these two offerings bring for Polestar this year. So Polestar 4 features no back window. We utilize an HD camera in the back that then takes the space of where your rearview mirror would be is now a screen that portrays backwards.
I also spoke with automotive expert and vintage race car driver Lauren Fix for her take on the latest auto trends. The next thing I want to talk about, Lauren, is the latest car trends. We're here at the New York Auto Show 2024. What are you seeing this year?
Well, the big trend is SUVs and crossovers. That is more than 50% of the sales. Consumers like to have that, whether it be a hybrid propulsion or a gas. We're seeing a lot of companies like Hyundai came up with the new Santa Fe. It comes gas, it comes hybrid. There's no electric available in the U.S.
So we've talked about you, we've talked about the industry, but what are consumers most interested in this year?
I think the consumers want technology. You're seeing a lot of big screens that easy connectivity with your phone. From you're on the phone making a call and you get into your vehicle and it nicely transitions. You don't drop that call. Having navigation, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Alexa, and Google are all built into these cars.
I asked Lauren to show us some of her favorite vehicles this year, the Genesis Magma line.
Starting with the GV60, this is the Magma concept, so it's an all-electric SUV, but if you look at it, it looks like a race car. It has cool carbon fiber bits, big tires, Recaro seats. Inside is so detailed with Magma stitching, Magma being orange. But this is something you're going to see on the streets. You can get a GV60 now with all the cool technology.
The New York Auto Show will be open to the public from March 29th to April 7th. Tickets are available at autoshowny.com. This is Chris Beers reporting for NTD News.
Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Stephanie Cox. See you tomorrow.